In this episode of the Digital Concierge, I am joined by Paris Norriss, entrepreneur, adventurer, and the creative mind behind Guy in Dubai. Paris is known for turning a vision of living life to the fullest into a successful production business, sharing stories of incredible adventures across the Middle East and far beyond.
There's no plan Bs, right? There's plan A or die, because a plan B is basically your quick way out if you're not willing to endure.
Would you say you start with the story, the audience, or the format?
I start with, what do I want to see? If I like it, there will be some people who like it.
Paris has built a brand that blends entertainment, inspiration, and real human connection. And he's here to share how following your curiosity and being intentional about the life you want to lead can create a story worth telling.
I guess the idea of brands is they want to be seen in a certain light. And if you can offer that certain light that they're looking for, then that's great. What becomes successful on short form content sometimes has nothing to do with the story or what you're filming, but more about how you can hook people with an edit. Only passion will allow me to succeed.
This is one you're going to want to tune into.
Amazing. So thank you for joining me on the Digital Concierge. So I will let you introduce yourself, but first to let people know how we know each other.
How do we know each other? So we met on LinkedIn.
Yes, good on LinkedIn.
Virtually on LinkedIn,
Yes.
and then in person at the Arabian travel market.
Yeah.
Walking past each other, looking at each other, going, how do I know that person? She's
That
looking
was
at
the
me.
second time.
I'm looking. Oh, is it? When was the first time? The year before.
The year before, last year.
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah,
had
yeah.
your keynote.
Oh, yes.
And then I think I sadly didn't get to see it, but obviously I was like, this guy's doing this keynote, this is amazing. And we had a meeting right before. So
That's right.
could not have a meeting right before,
Right.
and I was too nervous.
But then last week, we were walking past each other. I know this person. How do I know them? They're looking at me. And then you walk past each other and go, that was awkward.
And here we are.
And then you get a message saying, was that you? Like, oh, God.
Very good with faces.
Anyway,
Yes.
so that was how it worked out. But LinkedIn is incredible. We were just saying before the podcast that I use it for so much stuff.
Yeah, you get to have contact like this. But before we get into that, you have to introduce yourself so people know who they're listening to.
So I'm Paris Norriss. I'm from the UK. I've been living in Dubai for the last 16 years.
Wow.
About 8 years ago, I decided to change my entrepreneurial journey from just being someone who wants to set up businesses to being someone who wants to set up a business that's going to elevate the quality of my life, so that if it doesn't work out financially, I can at least smile and be happy.
That's a good philosophy.
And I thought, well, how would I want life to be if I had freedom of choice? And I thought, well, how does that look? You know, most of the things I would love to do cost a lot of money, but let's take that out of the equation and just think imaginatively for a moment. Well, I would want to do big adventures. I want to climb Everest. I want to row across oceans. I want to go to Antarctica. I want to, learn to scuba dive and fly paragliders and skydive, all that kind of stuff. And then combined it with, well, I also love to be on the red carpet of a film festival, or I, want to make sure that I'm at home for Christmas every Christmas.
Nice.
So I painted this picture of everything. And I was like, okay, well, great idea, but how are you going to make that a business? And it just popped in my head very quickly. Why don't you make a TV show about a guy that does this and inspire people how to live their best life and what they can do and how they can learn these things. And if it's inspirational and entertaining and educational, then people will watch. And if people will watch, then you can get sponsors on, and sponsors will then pay for the production. And probably I could use my entrepreneurial ability to convince the TV station that this is worthwhile. So that gave birth to a TV show called Guy in Dubai.
Yes.
Which I've been doing for about 8 years now, still doing it, still pushing it out. And I think we've done over 100 episodes now.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and that was the base of what I've been doing. And we then created a production company out of that called Blazing Sand Studios. We do productions for other people, but we also do other productions for ourselves. So we now have a travel show as well, which as well as at the Arabian travel market. We covered a number of these one-off adventures. Like I mentioned, rowing the Pacific was one that I did. I ran 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days.
Casual.
Or 5 days it ended up being.
So you like adventure?
Yeah, it's an adventure and some challenges, and we created a series out of that, or we're editing it now. So so that's effectively what I do.
That's impressive. I think I like how you kind of focused in on what do you want to do and then how can you achieve it. And so obviously you said these things like skydiving and all this, and obviously you've now done all of these things.
Yeah.
So why Dubai? Like, which one came first? The concept of what you wanted to create, or were you living in Dubai first?
I was living in Dubai first. So I came to Dubai, I was on the plane 2 hours after my last exam at university.
Wow.
I wasn't
You're
wasting
like,
time.
I'm out.
I'm out of here. Before university ends, in the final couple of months, everybody's talking about, like, you know, what are you going to do when you leave? And, you know, everyone's trying to get in graduate programs and internships at big banks. But this was 2008, and the financial community was falling to pieces. And I was one of the few people who actually was coming out with a master's in finance, a CFA level 1 and 2, all my broker's licenses. And I'm watching my friends who had degrees in religious studies get these jobs in banks, and I'm not getting them. And the banking community was just falling to pieces. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to be a banker anyway. I want to set up my own business. That was only a stepping stone.
So you knew that really early on?
I knew that before, but I didn't have the confidence. And I had a conversation with someone who said, look, nothing you're going to learn at a bank is going to teach you about anything to do with setting up a business. So if that's what you want, go for it. And I just walked out of his hotel room and said, cheers, Jeff, and went back to university with a plan to set up a business, but no actual business is set up. So I was just chatting with everybody at uni, and everyone saying, yeah, we're going to set up a business, and then you never hear from them. And one of my mates was actually really keen, and we sat down and we wrote down like some ideas, and there was one that I thought we could get funding for that required us to be in an expatriate hub, and, you know, so it could have been Singapore or, you know, US or somewhere. But Dubai was interesting at the time because there was this massive property boom going on. They said 1/3 of the world's cranes were all in Dubai at that time.
Wow.
They said they were building the biggest tower in the world, and it was going to be almost double the next biggest tower. And I arrived and I saw it, and, you know, it was just unbelievable. I mean, like, it had cranes attached to the Burj Khalifa, as it was only half built because they didn't have cranes big enough, you know. So we came here with all these ideas. None of them could have worked. We were kind of like, you know, slapped in the face with reality that we didn't really know how business was done. But what we did learn was that Dubai had a vision, and there was a drawing for this city that they were going to create, which I now live in, right? Where we are now, we would, if this was back then when I came over, we'll be talking in sand right now, right? So the whole city has grown enormously. And it's the only place I've ever been that really had a very, very clear vision, right down to what's going to be built there, what's going to be built there. And so it's like, do you want to fit in? Join in. If you don't, no need. But this is what we're doing. And that was inspirational to see. And I went back to London, shuffled some cards, and managed to get someone to invest in it, and came back out a year later. And I moved to Oman first. That was sort of part of the transition. He had an office in Oman, and we were sort of back and forth between Oman and Dubai. And yeah, it's kept me here for 16 years.
Amazing. That's quite a story. It's very impressive. I think I also like talking to you because you focus on longer form production, and certainly in the era of what we're doing, everybody thinks we've got short attention spans and it's not so much worth investing in, but obviously your bread and butter, is it fair to say, is longer form? So what does, to try and drill down into what you've achieved, like how did you come up, you had your concept, and then how do you break that into the episodes and the series and making sure there's a storyline? Like, what did that process look like to kind of jump into the nitty-gritties?
Well, I knew how ideally I wanted it to look in the end, but when we first created our first episodes, I remember I was like, right, we're going to tell a story, long format's what we're going to do. I need this to be like 25 minutes, half an hour. And we went out and we filmed our first episode, and, like, you know, we went zip lining and did this via ferrata in Ras Al Khaimah, so we're up in the mountains. And me and my friend Martin, we were trying to make it work, and he edited the video, he sent it to me, it was 2.5 minutes long. I said, Martin, it's got to be 25 minutes long. He's like, Paris, you don't have the substance. we've got to work out how we can tell a bit of a story and have more there. I can't just put action all the time.
Line.
Yeah, it can't just be me going, ah, ah, like all the way down. Then, you know, by doing it, I then looked at it and you can then see, okay, if we make this longer, we're making it boring, right? So how do we build substance? How do we change things around? If I keep giving information about what we're doing, info, that gets boring. So how do we switch that around? Okay, then there's some action. Okay, but then action gets boring. So how do you take the viewer on this roller coaster of emotions, of excitement? And that's really what it is, whether you're dealing with a 1-minute video or a 2-hour video. You've got to be able to keep people sort of wanting to see what's next, you know, like how do you keep people like hanging on? And that's really, really quite difficult. And it's more difficult in longer form because you've got to keep them hanging on for longer. But I wouldn't say I'm strictly long form. I like to tell stories. Yep. And I don't see a difference between, you know, people like Steven Spielberg who make feature films and Nas Daily who made his 1-minute videos. At the end of the day, it's telling a story in video, right? Totally different in terms of budget and orchestration and operations and everything like that. But in terms of, it's the same category. Yeah. So within that category, I try and you know, create whatever works. You know, whatever can you know, get people excited and interesting. Short format complements long format, so they work on different platforms. So long format, perfect for on-demand platforms. Whilst you say short form is the popular thing, well, at the same time, shows like Peaky Blinders and Game of Thrones are now massive budgets. So many people watching them. Being
binge watched.
Yeah, people binge watch. So there's still a big space for long form content. Just how we're watching them is slightly different. So I just view it as storytelling through video. That's the parameters.
And would you say you start with the story, the audience, or the format? Like, what does that look like?
You should start, well, so it depends. Depends, I mean, you're asking me, so I'll give you my opinion. Some people say start with the audience, right? A lot of people say, you know, it's all about the audience, like, especially if you're doing marketing, what do the audience want? I think you can be guessing forever if you're trying to guess what the audience want. I start with, what do I want to see? And I work with guys that have a very similar taste to me. We like what we produce. We would watch similar things.
So you would say you are your own audience then?
We are our own audience. So it's first, do I like this? Do I find it interesting? Would I want to see that? Is it a story that I want to uncover myself? So the cool thing is I get to uncover it in reality, and then we try and see how we can tell the story to everyone else. Because what we do is mainly adventures, right? So it's real, right? So we don't know what's going to happen. We go, right, let's go and discover a shipwreck. It went down in 1961, and the internet says it was the biggest naval catastrophe since the Titanic. Let's see what we can find out. So we go and scuba dive to it. One of the guys then tells us, you know that Sheikh Mohammed wrote about this in his book when he was a child. So then we look in the book and we decide to read elements of the book. So he tells part of the story. We go down to the shipwreck, spookiest thing I've ever done, because it's basically a graveyard. 238 people died. And it felt like they didn't want us there because the currents were so strong.
It was really pushing against you, my God.
Yeah, it was like, we can't even get down. It was a struggle to the point of being dangerous.
Wow.
Anyway, we got down, and you can't see a thing, it's murky everywhere, and then all of a sudden, this big hull of a ship, and you're like, whoa, there she is. And you can see from the details of the ship that it's very old. It was built, I think, in the like 20s or 30s, sank in 1961, and there's a massive bomb blast in the side where it was a terrorist explosion.
Wow.
So we see this thing, we film it, and it, it's amazing. We come up and we look at each other and we're like, wow, we saw something. We just see in the look in each other's eyes, like that was an impressive exploration. One of the guys then says, I wonder if there's anyone still alive today who was on the boat when it sank. Then that spurred another thought, right? As soon as I get home, I'm researching it, trying to find it, right?
Yeah.
And I find a guy, right? 81 years old. He was 17 when he was on the boat. It was his first job. He left Britain, flew to Mumbai. I don't think he even flew. I think he took a boat there, because this was back in the day, and started work on a ship. And his first journey, it went up to Basra and came back, and this bomb exploded.
Wow.
And he told me the whole story. And we didn't know until we did this whole adventure what we were going to uncover. Yeah. I didn't know I was going to be able to. I'd never met the guy, but I sent my film crew to his house to film in Southampton in England, and what we were going to uncover with this whole story. So
you couldn't have scripted that. That just starts to.
Well, if I was to ask
else.
an audience, what do you want to see? They don't know they want to see that. They don't know that's there. So it's like, what we do is we start with a curiosity, our own curiosity for what we want to discover. I have the belief that if I like it, there will be some people who like it. Maybe it's not mass audience, maybe it doesn't go viral, maybe it's not like something that appeals to everybody, but we know that if we do it our way, that there are other people that it appeals to. Format is generally the last thing. Format we sometimes change as well.
Okay.
If we film, we changed with this one, for example. We were filming, the rest of that season was shorter, and we're like, you know what, we've got so much substance for this one, let's do a special, and we'll change the format, we'll do it longer. And that gives us, because this has more in this episode than we thought. So format is last. I'd say, where does the audience come in this? Like, maybe the audience is last. The audience comes last because once you've released it, you're then looking at the audience to see their behavior. Did they like it? What did they like? Where did they watch up until? What bored them? Like, you can see the drop-off rates. So you use the audience as a litmus test. How was your edit? Before we put it out there to an audience, we have like a panel of TV experts that we show it to. They're people that produce TV shows. They're people who work in the industry. And I only show it to them whilst it's in the edit phase, because we can make changes. Yeah. If I send it to my mum or friends, as much as they
tell
have...
you how amazing it is, right?
Well, they do, or they have opinions about things that don't matter, or they don't understand certain things, and that's fine, but I really listen in on...
the experts.
The experts, right? I'm like, right, that's key. So we do that process so that we can still have time to edit it, and then we put it out to the audience.
And the way that the platforms are now, and I'm sure how you've seen it evolve, do you lean into short form to test a longer form asset, like to see if there's uptake or desire from an audience, or kind of seeding out ideas, or you really do go into this longer production first?
No, we don't do that, because what becomes successful on short form content sometimes has nothing to do with the story or what you're filming, but more about how you can hook people with an edit.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a phrase that someone says.
True.
That can just, it's a very different thing. You look at what becomes successful on social media, like, in my opinion, that's not where I want to be. Like, when I look at social media, what's successful is often trashy. What's successful is often bad advice. It's people with... something with
shock value or
shock value, with very strong opinions, talking very authoritatively when they might not be an expert. And that may grab attention and people may watch it, but that's not where I want to be.
So where do you want to be?
Well, I like what we're doing. I would love to be able to do bigger budget productions. So I love telling the stories. I would love... we could do so much more with so much more money. Why do we limit it to where we're at? Because at some point money runs out and you say, okay, this is as far as we can go with this edit. We could spend months more on the edit. We could bring in more people to do certain things. We could have done more in the pre-production phase to make sure that we were, had more storytelling, more information, more research. So we do what we can with what we've got. And I would love to tell there's so many adventures out there. So I'm never going to run out of different adventures and different stories that we can find, and just try and bring it to life in the most exciting way.
And how do you decide what adventures to tell? Because as you said, there are so many, and obviously Guy in Dubai is in Dubai, so then how does that expand outside of that? What does that look like?
Because when you have established yourself in that arena, people come and talk to you about adventures, and that becomes your brand. And people sometimes say, hey, look, we've got this going on, or oh, you should do this. And through all these discussions, and sometimes I even find sort of myself scrolling away on the internet going, oh, did you know you can run a marathon under the Northern Lights? So you take mental note of all these things, and a lot of it comes through conversations that I'll pick up on and go, yeah, that's interesting. Like, we could do something on that. And usually it stays as a mental note for quite a while. And then at some point it'll be like, right, we're filming a new season, what can we do? And I'll be like, I reckon we could pull that together, So it often happens very naturally.
I like that, it sounds good. And what role do brands play in what you're doing? Like, do you work a lot with brands? Do you let them lead what you're doing?
We do work a lot with brands because we need to fund the show.
Yeah.
So, but it's a very tricky thing to work with brands, because you want to give them the best exposure that they can get, but you want audiences to enjoy what they're watching and not feel like they're being advertised to. What we do is we have a show which is our format, which is already something established now. So when we talk to brands, they have to fit within, it's about fitting them in that. So it's like, look, this is what we do, this is how we see, like, we could bring in your car brand and these mountain shots, and if they like it, great, then we can work together. When I started talking to brands before I did the production, the whole concept of the production was being pulled over here and over there. Why don't we do restaurants? I'm like, well, restaurants isn't what I want to do. Because they can't see it, it's like, it could be anything. So I'm glad that I just went out there and established firmly what is my vision for this show, and then brought on brands shortly afterwards. And I, initially brought on small brands here and there, or there were activities, and got a little bit of sponsorship. And then, as it grew, we got more, and now it's established. People know if we're giving Paris money for these shows, we know what we're going to get. And that's a good position to be in. And
at least that way you have authentic partnerships, right? And they're coming in for your concept, so shouldn't be too much of a back and forth, which is better.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea is, ideally, I would love if anyone is paying to be part of our productions, that the audience doesn't know.
Yeah.
It's not that we're trying to mislead the audience, it's that...
It's not meant to look like product placement.
Yeah, it's that I want them to be so enthralled in the story that the Land Rover that we were in was part of the story.
Yeah.
It fits. And this is where you've got to say no to a lot of companies. Because, it's like, no, look, can you promote Visa or MasterCard? I just want you to, swipe
you're paying something,
when you're, getting your cup of tea to go up the mountain, just, it wouldn't look good. So we had to say, sorry, we can't work with you on that one. And that's why actually we don't wait for them to come to us. We pinpoint, right, we have these categories which we can work with, and these brands are the ones most associated with it. And you go to them, and if you've worked it out, it should be that they've worked it out too. It's like, oh, great, yes, that is aligned with our brand. You're an adventure show, and we're looking to promote in the adventure arena, and therefore this would work. But sometimes you paint the picture so clearly for them, but they still don't see it. So, it doesn't always work.
So you want it to be like the Four Seasons to the White Lotus, kind of.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on these kind of partnerships? Because obviously I'm more in hospitality, you're more in travel, so I'm looking at these kind of partnerships, and I think that's a great example of, you know, you don't see a Four Seasons logo, you don't see anybody wearing any of the uniform, but you know it's shot there because they've just done such a good job around the White Lotus TV show, right? So what's your thoughts on this?
What about effectively not having the brand in there?
But do you think it's a good partnership? Because obviously there's a lot of talkability about it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good partnership. So let's say you had a similar setup, would you perceive that as a positive dynamic?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a positive partnership. I mean, I guess the idea of brands is they want to be seen in a certain light. Mm-hmm. And if you can offer that certain light that they're looking for, then that's great. We need not only funds to produce the show, but there are also brands that we can work with which can make what we're doing even cooler. Mm-hmm. And some of them open doors to us being able to create even better episodes. Yeah. So there are some that we work with on a non-commercial basis, in the sense that they don't give us money, but they give us access to things that allow us to make really cool content.
Got you.
And it's like, okay, that's worth more. We'll find out how to get the money from somewhere else, you know. So yes, look, this is probably the one thing that we've been quite successful in doing, like from a small stage when we started, when we were just doing these 2.5 minute videos, trying to put it together. It wasn't long after before I got my sort of first paid deal. Actually, I can tell you, it was I did 4 pilot episodes, and then I signed at the end of the year a deal with a TV station.
Okay.
OSN. We did that at the Dubai Film Festival, and we started producing. We did 18 episodes after that, and then I got sponsors on some of those episodes. So, like from you know, pretty much nothing, we were able to commercialize it, and I think that's key. I see too many creators with the mindset of just create.
Yeah.
Not me. Mm-hmm. Definitely not me.
Definitely in the social space, right? And if you say you don't want to be known to be in the social space, that's kind of just like a churn. It's a monster you have to feed.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to value your time as well. I mean, a lot of time and effort goes into creating content. Yeah. I not only have to know how to commercialize it, but I have to have the money up front.
Okay.
Right, so the money has to come before production.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So I see people out there just create. Not only do they not have the money up front to do it, but they don't really know where the money's going to come afterwards. Mm-hmm. And I think you are focusing on the wrong area. You haven't yet figured out how to commercialize this properly. Yeah. And when you commercialize it, it allows you to do so much more with your production, because you can put, you know, funds into the actual production. We commercialize it not really for our own pockets. We commercialize it so we can do more of
keep growing it.
a better quality production. And when you do better quality, it opens doors to more opportunities. Yeah. But in order to do that, you have to have sorted out the business model and figured out how you can get money from people before you've even produced it. Mm-hmm.
And how did you establish distribution plans, who to partner with, TV partners? Like, what did that look like? Because now we're on a world of platforms, and there are so many of these social media beasts that you can feed. So how do you decide what that looks like?
So, again, it came through conversations. Okay. So I remember I did some kind of business deal with a media company where we were going to create videos and put it on one of their online platforms. And that was my initial idea. And then when we started making it, when we started doing the pilot episodes, because I started putting things out on social media, 2 people in the same boardroom said, "Hey, I know this guy Paris." "Oh yeah, I know this guy Paris." Nice. Like, we should talk to him about it, right? So, so that worked out, and that was OSN. That was who we signed up first. Then I can't remember who it was, but when they'd seen the content, they said, "This would be perfect on Emirates Airlines." Right? And it was 2 years after I managed to get it onto Emirates Airlines, but it was in my mind, got to get this on Emirates Airlines.
That's impressive.
Right?
So you're a good manifester then.
Oh, manifesting. It's all manifesting.
Love that.
So I tried so hard to get to the right people in Emirates Airlines, and then it just so happened that one of my followers on Instagram was like, I work at Emirates and this would be so good. I always watch your stuff.
And you're like, great idea.
Yeah.
Never thought of that.
You're smarter than you think you are. But that was a guy called Daniel Blanco, who I've not yet met, but he has helped me out enormously.
You still haven't met this person? That's impressive.
Yeah,
that's the world we live in today,
but he helped me get onto Emirates, and that changed a lot of things for me, because we've been on 10 different airlines.
That's impressive. And so did that just snowball? So one airline sees that you're on another and then they all want a piece of it, or?
Well, it's certainly, no, I wouldn't say they see it on another airline and they want a piece. You knock on their door, push your way through, demand a meeting, and then you say, due to our success on Emirates, we thought you guys might want to be part of this. And it certainly helps,
Yeah, I can imagine.
So one thing I've realized is nobody in this world knows what a good idea is. People see validation, and that for them is a good idea. We work like sheep. Mm-hmm. When they can see a newspaper article with you in, you're legit. When they can see you're on a platform like Emirates, somebody has approved you.
Of course.
When you can see, all these validations, then people give you a break.
Yeah.
So getting that first break is what's really difficult.
Agree with that.
Right? So, I don't know if the people who have put my shows up have really ever watched it or paid that much attention to it. Right? I think they scan.
Just saw like a proof in the pudding somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's easier. I can say we've done this, this, and this.
Yeah.
But to begin with, it was very difficult, and I had to see, I had to utilize whoever was interested, or whoever was giving me a slight bit of hope that I might be able to do something. And it just so happened with OSN, they were setting up their version of Netflix Originals to create their own content with local producers. That department got sacked, right? So I got my production on there. There are a few other productions that went up. All of those guys are gone, and I just didn't give up that I was going to continue to work with them, and I maintained that for quite a while. A lot of it comes down to your drive to make it happen. My business partner said this to the sales girl that we have working with us. She's worked with us on production, and she's helping us with a few things. And then he said, look, I know that they haven't replied or responded, but keep going. Send them another email, give them another phone call. And then she was like, oh yeah, but I don't want to bother them. I was like, this is the only way Paris was successful, right? One thing I've learned is you've got to sign the contract with them. You've got to turn up at their office at 7 o'clock in the morning with 2 coffees and say, just here to sign the, exactly, bring the pen, just there it is, right. And you've got to force it. When people don't answer the phone, when people don't get back to you, when people are non-responsive,
and we think it's them being bothered, but they're not giving it a second thought. So they've got 100 other things to do. I think that's something I've definitely learned.
Yeah.
So I used to feel the same, and now I will ask until you tell me to stop bothering you.
Well, one thing that I have way too much of, which has been helpful, is audacity.
Nice, yeah.
Right? I believe that I'm the king of the world, right? So it's like, right, these people have to sign contracts, and these people have got to put my thing up, right? This is very funny when we're filming, because if we're ever told, like, and this happened once, we were told, okay, right, this was, actually I'll tell you where it was at the Red Bull Air Race, right, in Abu Dhabi. And Abu Dhabi is quite a strict place to be. And they're like, okay, you can film there, there's things going on over there, you can film. Whatever you do, do not go past there, that's prohibited, don't go there. We're like, As soon as they leave, I'm like, come on guys, let's go this way, right? We went, right? What do we know? There's a guy just getting a jetpack ready, right? And I'm like, I'll run down, like, cameras up, right? Like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, it's a jetpack, turbine powered jetpack. We're going to take up, go around here. And I'm like, fantastic. And how fast does it go? And I just ask these questions. The security's coming down, whistles me off. And then my camera guy just manages to get him taking off in this jetpack, like James Bond, and they're flying around the Corniche. And we did that because we basically said, I'm not going to listen to your rules. We're going to do what we want.
Forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still here. So I've always done things that way. I'm not promoting it, but that's just how I do it. To have the audacity to when people are sort of shrugging you off with the cold treatment, to, you know, keep pushing through, because like you've got to believe in what you're doing, and if you know, don't take the negativity or the silent treatment that you can't push through. Until they say, listen, I'm sorry, but it's a no.
I agree.
Keep going.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's the world we're in as well, but not so many people want to keep asking, so it's good to hear that that's your approach as well.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a pest.
I like it. So I want to think about pounds and pennies advice.
Yeah.
So what would that look like? If you think of like when you started, what was your non-negotiable that you had to do to help yourself get set up for your business? You had no money. What did that look like?
So yeah, I definitely had no money back then. 2017 was a tough financial year for me, very, very tough. So I remember having a phone call with my friend. My previous business had just gone down and out. I thought I'd get something out of that when we closed it down. But not only did I not get something out of it, I lost money in it.
Oh wow.
And I'm like now on rock bottom in terms of financials. And I called my friend and I said, I think I might have to go back to the UK. I don't know what I can do here. I don't know what's next. I got nothing lined up and I've got no money. And she said, well, step one, get rid of renting your apartment and you can stay in my spare bedroom. And I'm like, okay, that's some kind of solution. I spoke with a friend who had a co-working office. He wanted to do a collaboration. So I did a collaboration with him where I was sort of his ambassador and promoted the office. It was quite a long run, but I could run to the office. And I also did the same deal with the gym in the building next door. So I could run, go to the gym, shower in the gym, then go to the office. So I had basically what I needed without spending any money. I had an office, a place to live, and what have you.
Pure value exchanges.
Exactly, right? You've got to be resourceful when you don't have resources. And it was, I wouldn't have done that unless I was forced to be resourceful. So sometimes being in that situation is good. And I spoke to another very good friend who said, you know, such a good friend, she's like a sister to me. And she said, well, look, if you're in real trouble, I can lend you some money. And I said, no, I think I need to feel the pain. I knew it was there if I needed it, but I was like, no, I need to feel this. I think when I feel it, I will...
Gets you moving.
I will exactly get you moving, start looking at opportunities, start seeing what you can do, get focused on things. A little bit later that year, my mum knew that, like, I'm, you know, rubbing two sticks together, and she said, she had this, I remember this conversation, my mum's always trying to help out. She's like, listen, you should check out this website, it's something www. And I'm like, okay. She's like, and you go on there, and you know, and there's teachers, and they find work for them. I'm like, okay, why are you telling me this, Mum? She's like, well, I just thought, you know, you could have like another income if it doesn't work out. And I was like, no, Mum, I'm doing what I'm doing. She's like, no, just as a plan B. And like, I remember getting really angry. I said, Mum, there's no plan Bs, right? There's plan A or die, right? So I'm continuing with this. I don't care how broke I am. This is what I'm doing now, right? So I was...
With that much conviction as well.
Yeah, and I was just like, there are no plan Bs. Because a plan B is basically your quick way out if you're not willing to endure.
And it's already telling you, I don't believe plan A is going to work. You know, like I listened to a Denzel Washington motivational speech, and he talks about this, you know, like there's this generation where we're told, oh, what's your plan B? What's your fallback? And then as soon as you start doing that, you're telling the universe that you don't believe that this is going to work out. So you have to have it. So if you don't have it, you figure it out, right?
The question is how strong is your plan A?
Yeah.
A lot of us don't know what our purpose is, don't yet have a clear vision for ourselves. And that's fine, because then we don't really necessarily have full belief in our plan A. And therefore a plan B might be, okay, one doesn't work, the other one does. I had come to the point in my life where I was now really sure what I'm passionate about, and I'm also really clear in my head that only passion will allow me to succeed. If I do another thing just because there's money in it or whatever, I'm going to continue failing forever.
Yeah.
So that was so clear in my head that anybody trying to distract me from that was going to get what my mum got. But you know, just me being over passionate. By the end of that year, we had the TV deal, so it worked.
Impressive.
But you know, I was selling the big vision about what it was going to be, and it was years.
Yeah.
It was years until it got to the full vision. You know, I was trying to, you know, get big payments for things, and no one was going to pay it just yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got there in the end, and it took a while. So, in terms of pounds and pennies, you know, there's always a way to get things on through some kind of arrangement if you are resourceful about it and learn how to find out what the other person really needs.
Absolutely.
And how else you can offer that other than
Yeah.
money. What can you do for them, you know? And you need to be able to offer that. And I've done a lot of things like that, you know, barters and collaborations and things that have been sort of cohesive relationships that have worked for people and worked for me. So, I utilize those a lot.
So that's your pennies. So what's your pounds advice?
Pounds
So
advice.
when you get to that stage where money is there as a business, like where do you think that should go in terms of continuing growth, expansion, reaching bigger audiences?
So it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's very different things making money and managing money.
And spending it, yeah.
and saving for the future and things like that. So you know, in the early days when we had not very much money, we were dying for money in order to put into things. So now when we have money flowing, it's like we've got things to put it in. A lot of the business that we have, if you were to take me out of the equation, those businesses wouldn't last any longer.
Okay.
Right? So they don't have continuous value. If you want
So
to
you're integral to that, your presence or your persona or your brand identity built around.
Well,
you.
it could be, for example, my keynote speeches. Right? That's me.
Yeah.
So the keynote speech is a really interesting one. Very highly profitable. There's not a lot of cost to it. Maybe we pay an agent 20% or something, but the rest is all profit. And sometimes it's very high value. It could be $15,000, $20,000, and it would be an hour of speaking, and it might take, you know, there's a lot of time that goes into building it. But so it's highly profitable. But where's the continuous value of that? There isn't any. So if somebody was to come and buy that business, and I was to then leave the business, they're buying nothing,
It's
right?
gone. Yeah.
So it's not building any business value. So I've said to my business partner, anything that is revenue from keynote speeches, we have to look at it as in terms of free investment capital. Now we've got to put that into parts of the business that have continuous income that will come in after us. So we have another side of the business, which is distributing TV shows, something that we did for ourselves and now we do for other people.
Okay.
And we might get $20, $50 a month per show that we put up. But the cool thing is once we have distributed that onto platforms, it's bringing in every month and we do nothing, right? So that's something that has value to sell because somebody who's buying that is buying the future revenues. So the way that I look at it is we invest our money into businesses that bring future revenues.
Okay.
And you know, that could be investing in promoting the keynote speeches, right? But things like the keynote speeches, which don't add business value, those funds have to go into a side of the business that generates future revenue.
And you don't see the keynote as content opportunities as well? Like when you're doing a keynote, somebody filming you, do you use that to cross promote? You do as well?
Yeah, it's a whole ecosystem, right?
Okay.
So the great thing about the keynote is that you're face to face with people.
Yeah.
You've never got such a willing audience,
Captive audience, yeah.
to buy what you're selling next, right? So they've just listened to you for 45 minutes, an hour, and they've got engulfed in your story, and they're like, wow, right? So now, what about a deeper dig with the book? What about an online course? What about a 3-month program that you can work with their organization to then do further development and maybe an expedition? You know, getting them involved more in your community. So you have to build the whole thing around it. We're also going to be starting a podcast like this. So on that podcast is not only going to be able to promote that, but it's going to be things that, you know, allow people to have be more engaged with your topic and you and what you're doing. So it's about having a whole ecosystem around it.
No, I think that's a nice way of putting it. Instead of, oh, there's a podcast, oh, there's a TV show. So seeing how that user journey flows between them, how there's cross promotion. So that's very exciting. Yeah. And when is the podcast launching, do we think?
I think I'm going to start filming them in like a couple of weeks.
Exciting.
And then we'll put them out shortly after. I think, you know, the same way it was with the TV show where we tried it and realized, oh, not as good as we thought, but okay, we need to change a few things. Yeah. I'm looking at it like that and thinking, let's just do it the best that I think I can do. Yeah. You know,
and iterate and keep moving.
See how it comes out, put it out there, and then, you know, keep doing them over time. I think the key thing is that it's got to be something that you bring out new content every week or a couple of weeks. So to keep consistency, keep bringing in new people that I can have on the podcast, and each new one is getting to a new audience of people that then can see all the ones that you've done in the past.
And so for people that want to connect with you or listen, before we wrap up, what's the best way for them to find you?
Yeah, so, well, I put everything that I'm doing onto my social media. So it's all just my name, Paris Norriss.
It's a very unique name. I don't
Yeah, exactly.
It's easy to find.
Paris like Paris Hilton, Norris like Chuck Norris. So it's all on there. You can watch our shows on Amazon Prime, Guy in Dubai. Guy in the Sky will be out soon as well. That will be on Amazon Prime as well.
Amazing.
You can catch both of them probably on an airline if you're on it.
Yep, Emirates still.
Definitely on Emirates still. Nice. Etihad, sometimes on British Airways. So
that must be quite cool to see yourself on a plane, no? When you're there, do you just like...
Not for everybody else.
You don't sit there like, that's me.
I put it on all the screens. Sometimes I'll be like... I do make the most of it. Cool. I do it more because I like to get content of it when I'm on there, so that I can promote it.
Was that on a vision board? Did you want to always be on a TV show on a plane?
Always. Only.
Did you manifest that?
Only since somebody said it to me 2 years before it happened, when they said, "Oh, you could be on Emirates. That would work." And then I was like, and then it did absolutely manifested it. I was like, really Emirates, cool. That'd be brilliant. I could see it on there. It would work. It would promote. And I was like, I've got to make that happen. And then you make it happen.
I like it. Well, thank you so much for talking to me about all these amazing things, and I'm very much looking forward to your podcast.
So, it's a pleasure.
I'm sure we'll have you back on again to talk about lots of things, because we could have carried on. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.